Mic check, mic check, mic check. Let's get this thing started. It is Win-Trapreneur Wednesday down. What's the title? Win-Trapreneur Wednesday down. If you don't know what that means, give me a second and I will describe it to you. Let me just make sure we're all good. All good on all the platforms. All right, let's do that. And we're good here. All right, we are back in order. All right, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Don't know what time of day you're consuming this, but it's great because it's evergreen material, and regardless of the time of day, regardless of the year, regardless of the month, the season you're in, whatever it is, it's going to be valuable to you. That's the power of creating quality work. First and foremost, let me just introduce myself to anybody that may be new to this world, new to my channel, new to what I'm all about. My name is Aswan Crookshank. I'm your one and only Move Swiftly speaker, former Division I college football player, and current 5-time, soon to be 6-time published author and educator. I created this whole brand, this whole framework, this whole mindset, this whole philosophy that's all about taking the innovative teamwork lessons that you learn on the football field and aligning them with businesses and business owners so they have a staff and a group of employees that moves the same way, the same efficiency, the same cohesion, the same passion that a championship youth or high school football team has. That is what we do over here. That is what we translate over here in the Move Swiftly world. And again, systems. You guys hear me say it every single day. When you have systems, there's a lot of things that can get done ahead of time, right? Listen, the reason I was sort of like, I don't want to say I'm late, but right before I started doing this recording, I was actually working on my article for next week because, again, I know what this system's going to be. It's going to be Win-Trapreneur Wednesday. It's going to be Top 5 Tuesday. It's going to be Make Your Move Monday. We're going to have Stay Hired Sunday. We're going to have Film Session Saturday. We're going to have the Faith-Based Friday. Then we're going to just do a recap episode on Thursday. Every single day of the week, I know what I'm going to be talking about. I know I'm going to plug in whatever the information is, whatever it is I have in the system. I know how all of this is going to work ahead of time. This is incredibly important, and we're going to get to that in a second today because as we're going to be discussing on Win-Trapreneur Wednesday, and as we've been discussing all week, we are talking about role models. We're talking about role models and positive role models, people that you get to see develop and how they work and how they operate and how that creates opportunities for you. So we're going to dive into all of that today. As you can see on the title, it's creating role models aside from the fame. All right, creating role models. Role models is very important to know and touch and feel and be able to have access to role models. That's the thing about it. All right, when you're talking about role models, we got to remove the mentality of the person needs to be famous and focus on the folks that we actually can depend on and that we're actually talking to, and we're getting an idea of how they think and all that kind of stuff. All right, so before we dive into too deep into that, let me just get through a couple of announcements. I got to get through it. To my regular listeners, you already know it. You already know what's coming. But to my newcomers, I have to make sure I make these announcements because I need to be doing my job. I have a job to do the same way you have a job to do. I have a job to do to make sure that these announcements gets made as newcomers, as I'm working toward always working towards newcomers coming into my world. So all that being said, business owners, if you have not yet, make sure you go to freeguide.makeyourmove.com. That is freeguide.makeyourmove.com. It is a very easy to understand process, a very easy to understand formula that we work from around here. It's number one, establishing measurables. Number two, we creating a professional distance. And number three, aligning those two things, and leading that, making it so that leads into a productive environment. Create a 10-step process in which you can click that button right there that you see on the screen, and I will send you over a free guide in terms of how you can sort of get the ball rolling in regards to creating more of a staff cohesion. Again, the same way you would see that championship mentality football team, youth or high school football team, the same way they're working together. That's what you're gonna have. All right, that's number one. Next thing. West Palm Beach, stand up. The boxing lessons are back. The boxing lessons are back. Breaking news, breaking news. The boxing lessons are back. Now, I'm going to be doing some traveling this week, so we might pick it up September. Just know throughout the week, however, this week, next weekend. Anyway, throughout the week, if you are interested, see, this is what I got to work on in terms of my announcements. If you are interested in boxing lessons and you are living in the West Palm Beach, Florida area, make sure you just get in contact with me. There are the times. If it works for you, let me know and we'll set something up. All of that is available on freeboxing.makeyourmove.com. Next thing. I have recently been made the sports and fitness director over here at the Center for Creative Education. It's the first year in which we're trying this. We definitely doing it. Not trying no more. See, that's like we ain't trying it no more. We doing it. Damn it, we're doing it. First year in which we're doing it, and it has been a dire need. But again, the work I do, when it comes to the work I do, I'm always of the mindset of the audience decides. And when you're talking about, raising and developing and helping young students, I want parents involved, man. I want parents involved. I want people that are into sports, into using sports to developing the mindset of kids involved. If you're interested in that, we work from four pillars, for understanding of four things. I call it the 4Fs. It's fitness, fun, family, and fundraising. All right. If that sounds good to you, if that's a buzzword for you and you'd like to join the email list to kind of keep up with what we're going to be doing, simply hit that button that you see right there on the screen, and you expect information as we continue to grow and continue to grow. All that is at Move Swiftly Sport and Fitness at Move Swiftly Sports and Fitness.makeyourmove.com. That is the website for that. And college football is back. Hallelujah. Football is back, people. Hallelujah. It is back and it's in full effect. Man, I'm telling you, it's rough. It's rough, especially over here when you're talking about the Move Swiftly world and how we created what we created. Listen to me, man. It is a rough go around when it comes to not being able to watch some college football or be able to analyze the game. And myself, huge diehard Michigan fan, and we recently won a national championship and all that. So again, I found a location, folks. I found a location to host a live college football show. It is at Duffy Sports Grill in North Palm Beach. We're going to be going from 11:30 to 2:30 p.m. That's not going to start. The actual show is not going to start till August 29th. However, throughout this entire month, let me make sure I got August 30th, August 30th. But throughout this entire month, if you want to sign up to the weekly scenario, we're going to be sending out weekly emails through when the season actually starts. That puts you in the hot seat. If you're the head coach, how do you do this? How do you handle this? How do you deal with the injury? And you'll see that crossover from the football field to the business world. You'll start to feel the crossover. And then essentially the more people that pay attention to the game, particularly the business owners, again, the people that we're looking to attract onto this platform, you'll start to see how just recognizing some of the decisions that the coaches have to make, how that is going to help you in your professional endeavor. So that is weekly scenario.makeyourmove.com. And finally, if you're like, bump all that free stuff, Aswan, I want to know who I got to pay, when I got to pay them, how I got to pay them. I want your mindset, Aswan. I want that implemented into my group of employees. I want to figure out how to teach that. You are my favorite people to have around here. We love folks like you. We cater everything we do towards what the folks who think like that want. So just simply go to makeyourmove.com. That is MAKEYAMOVE.com. That's where you can purchase all the books, purchase all the boxing lessons, purchase some merch, and most importantly, purchase that Move Swiftly workshop and figure out a payment plan, a structured plan in which we can get all of that information to you. Again, do your research. You can do all your research right there on makeyourmove.com. Turn your business into a championship team. It is common knowledge that the best way to win in business or in life is by avoiding ways to lose. Whether you've just started a new business or you've been in business for quite some time, there's no getting around the need to hire or outsource certain elements of your organization so things can run as efficiently as possible. When you book your meeting with Aswan, he will diagnose what the issues are with your current system, and then strategically create a system in which will lead to a reduced amount of turnover or a clear understanding of the parts of your business that need to be outsourced. Woo! All right, we got that. We got through that in 10 minutes. All right, guys, let's get into what we're going to be discussing today. Move the Win-Trapreneur Wednesday, creating role models aside from fame. Let me just put this here on the banner and get a blast of water, and then we're going to get into this. All right, so yesterday, as we went over a little bit yesterday on Top 5 Tuesday, broke down that just because now it may sound like to newcomers, it may sound like, oh, just because you're famous, you can't be a role model. That is not at all what I'm saying. That's not at all what I'm implying. That's not at all what is important. What I am explaining to you is that role models are not strictly restricted to fame. All right, it is not just the fame that makes a person a role model. What makes a person a role model, a positive role model, a role model in the light or in the under the concept in which we're looking at role models, which we need to be, is the fact that they're able to take action. There's something that you've been able to learn from them that made it so you can apply it to your own life. And what I discussed yesterday, the two famous role models that are off limits, like no matter what, I'm always going to rock with, no matter what, for me, is when it comes to the work I do in the world I'm in, is Ray Lewis and Jay-Z. Like, for me, no holds barred. Those are people we don't touch over here, right? I will defend them. I'll defend them no matter what, because of the actions that I learned, the things I learned from them that made me say, hey, there's something that they have that I can apply to my own business. Now, again, both of them, their personal endeavors and some of the things that they're human. At the end of the day, they're human. And I know that they're not just, innocent with everything that they do. It's not even possible. Nobody is. But what I'm explaining to you is that when you are going to create role models, when you're going to look up to people, make sure it's in a situation, or make sure you're doing things that are going to be actually productive. With Ray Lewis, I used the example of how, again, me growing up in Maryland playing linebacker and having my identity tied in to the game of football. Obviously, Ray Lewis, the linebacker who made his name for himself or became famous, was the Baltimore Ravens linebacker, became the greatest linebacker, greatest player of all time. Obviously, growing up and seeing that during those years became something huge. In fact, I literally, before I started writing this article, I wrote an article for next week. And understand, look, from 6th all the way through 12th grade, I barely lost any football games. The few teams that I did lose to, there were times in which I beat them. So it was not like a situation where I just went on the field and lost games. That losing stuff was not what I'm about. But I'll dive into that next week. And then when it comes to Jay-Z, it was about learning the concept and the value of intellectual property. Again, a term that I've never heard the term intellectual property in school at all. Did not happen. It was not something that was taught. But it was Jay-Z, again, the intellectual property, the amount of intellectual property that he has out there, and the way he's getting paid. When I say getting paid, I mean making a fortune off it, because people are still buying his albums. Just this morning, as I was taking my run, I'm listening to The Blueprint, an album that came out decades ago, right? Creating evergreen material, which is what we're doing right now, which is what I'm doing right now, which is what you see every single day. That intellectual property, that mindset, folks, is what's going to last you for years. All right. So when we're creating these role models, we got to understand, hey, what are our goals, where it is we're trying to go, and let's make sure things have a foundation to them in which they're going to be able to stand the test of time. All right. So all that being said, going directly to the article for my podcast listeners, Win-Trapreneur Wednesday, creating role models aside from fame. And that image, oh man, that image brings back memories, man. This was my first, so I moved to South Florida to work for the Dolphins Foundation, and the Dolphins Cancer Challenge, this bike ride is the staple to all the fundraising efforts. And this was my first year participating in. All the years prior, participating in it. The years prior, I was there, working the garage sale and, helping out with the event and all that kind of stuff. But this was my first time participating in it. We did a bike ride all the way from, so there's several options. Actually, because I think that it's not today, but tomorrow. Let me just real quick do a little promo for the DCC. Why not? DCC Dolphins Cancer Challenge. Let me do a little promo for you guys. Yeah, there it is. Let me do a little promo. Shout out to Javier and the squad. And I'm pretty sure I'm probably going to be doing it again this year. But yeah, registration opens on August 8th in 2 days. It's going to be February 28th, and you could choose to walk, you could choose to run, or you could choose to bike ride. You have all the options that you would want, and I cannot wait. Definitely got to do it this year. Definitely to do it this year. But this is the way it's going to be, and it's a great event. You see Miami in a way that you just never would have imagined. But this is my first time participating in it. All right. So all that being said, let's jump right into the article. Welcome to another Win-Trapreneur Wednesday, brought to you by the Move Swiftly platform, where strategy meets soul and careers align with calling. Before we jump in, let's define what a Win-Trapreneur is. Win-Trapreneur, a person with a strong entrepreneurial vision for their life, who has had the good fortune of finding a job that pays them every 2 weeks and aligns with that vision. If that's you, welcome home. This platform was built with you in mind. And just so we're clear on that, when I do the intro every single morning, I say 5 times, soon to be 6-time published author, is because book number 6, it's really 70%. I'll say I'm 70% done with book number 6, and it's all about how to be a Win-Trapreneur. And what I'll be doing actually is taking some of the articles that are right here on Medium and just putting them in the book format. So that way you guys understand Win-Trapreneurship is real time making decisions every single day, to where whether you're working this job, it's paying you whatever it's paying you just enough, right? Just enough to pay the bills. But your mentality in terms of how you use that money, what you cut back on, what you don't cut back on, what you spend it on, how do you reinvent it and reinvest it in yourself, and all of that is what Win-Trapreneurship is all about. If somebody gives you a check, somebody gives you a salary well enough to at least pay your bills. Okay, how do I scale back so I'm using my money to make more money, right? To make more money and to reinvest it in myself. And the only way that happens, I'm telling you, the only way it happens is if you invest in yourself. You reinvent yourself every single day by how you spend your cash. Are you reinvested in your shit, right? Are you reinvesting in the things that you know you can accomplish and the things you know you can do? That's how real money is made. That's how real wealth is made. It's taking the check and saying, okay, I'm going to put it into some marketing. I'm going to put it in some coaching. I'll put it in certain things. I'll put it in product. That's the beauty. That's the beauty of it, man. That's the beauty of this stuff, man. It's great stuff. All right. So if that's you, welcome home. This platform was built with you in mind. Going back directly to the article for my podcast listeners. All right. So why must we create role models outside of fame? All right. In alignment with this week's theme on role models, I want to take today's message in a different direction. See, we all know famous names like LeBron, Oprah, Beyonce, Coach Prime, but what about the ones who won't trend on social media, the ones who aren't on red carpets, but are always on time? All right. That is the key. And I want to make sure I reemphasize before I actually get into the main story today, is the way the media does things, the portrayal. I mean, I swear, I will go crazy. I mean, my head is spinning at the fact that to this day, ESPN is doing segments. You're doing segments on Shador, a 5th round pick You're doing segments on a 5th round pick, and I'm not seeing anything on ESPN about the 1st round pick, which is Cam Ward. Not seeing anything about the 1st round. Is you're talking about a 5th round pick, somebody who is competing to potentially be QB4. Like, it's insane. It just yesterday I was watching a segment on Shador, and the person on ESPN, you know how they kind of give their opinion. The person. And I understood because the person on ESPN who was about to talk, who was, had to do the segment on Shador, he was like, the producers is in his ear, like, talk Shador, talk Shador, talk Shador. It's crazy to me, to the point where I can't take it. I'm deliberately trying my best. I'm trying my best. I don't know how well I'm going to do on this, but I'm trying my best not to talk about Shador Sanders, not to talk about someone who could potentially be a 4th string quarterback. Like, this is insane to me, but it's because of what the media does. This is the kind of bullshit that they do to people. They make it so these famous people get talked about all the time. Like, listen, again, granted, learn something from them, be inspired, but damn, man, you're talking about Shador Sanders as if this is going to be a guy that's going to have some sort of a long career in the NFL. He's not. It just isn't going to happen based on, now, again, I'm not saying that he isn't talented. I'm saying because he can't stay away from the media, because the media is paying so much attention to him, it's hindering his development. So no matter where he goes, if the camera's going to keep following, he can't really kind of keep his head down and, just develop and get what he needs to get and learn from some of the greats. It's all about what's in the media. And that essentially, I think that's going to make it so he can't develop into the quarterback that he definitely has the potential to be. He has the talent to be one of the best quarterbacks ever, but the media just won't let the shit go. It's driving me crazy. I can't take it. Can't fucking take it. It's insane to me. But, all that being said, let me get into the day, because I'll go on a tangent when it comes to that whole conversation. So a Toastmaster, and this is what I mean. This is right here. Okay, pay very close attention to what I'm going to tell you in right now. All right. This is what I mean when I say real role models. Real role models. Role models are many ways. The best ones out there are the ones that are not famous at all. Not famous at all. Not the ones that, again, are on social media, that the mainstream media are constantly paying attention to. Real great role models are not. This is what they are. All right. So I'm going to read it to you directly. And it's important that you pay very close attention to what I'm telling you. All right. A Toastmasters story I'll never forget. All right. Back when I was attending Toastmasters regularly, the public speaking organization designed to help you build confidence and communication skills, I had front row seats to one of the most powerful, unscripted moments I've ever witnessed. At Toastmasters, we used to do table topics, all right, which are short impromptu speaking exercises. Short impromptu speaking exercises. You get up, you get a random prompt, and you speak off the cuff. One day, the theme was talk about a local role model. All right. So just to give you a visual on that, the way it works is you're in a Toastmasters room, and you have the, what they call that person, the person running the meeting. I think the adjuncts or something like that. I can't even, the host of the meeting, whoever is hosting the meeting, and that, hosting the meeting, there's an actual name for all of these people, and they're practicing their public speaking skills as they are, organizing the meeting and all that. And the start of every meeting, they have something called table topics, right? So the table topics, the person who runs the table topics comes up, and then they ask another person to come up, and then they introduce a certain topic. So, and they pick people randomly. So I remember the first day I got the first meeting ever, like first time ever walking into a Toastmasters meeting. So, what was my man's name? The names are slipping. It's been so long ago. Ahmad, I think it was. I can't remember his name, but he came up and he goes, "All right, look, now tell me about a time where you had to be inspiring in your life, where you had to inspire someone." And this was the first time I've ever been in the meeting. So I get on a 10 because at the time I was a trainer at 9 round. So I'm telling them all about how I had to teach people jabs, cross, uppercuts. I was basically being who I was. And again, surprise, I won the table topics. They all vote at the end who gave the best speech, yada, yada, yada. And long story short, surprise, I won that table topics meeting. or that I had the best table topic speech, because they pick people randomly and then everything gets judged at the end of the meeting. They give out the awards of who got the best table topic speech, who gave the best speech. All that being said, it's a huge it's a great organization. Matter of fact, I would strongly recommend, let me put them out there too. Toastmasters. Yes, I would strongly recommend, if you want to develop in public speaking, that you find a local club, see if you can make it and do something. It is, very, very popular, and it's really, really, really cost effective. It is not expensive at all, but you get so much from it if you decide to buy in. So that was what Toastmasters was all about. All right. So all that being said, there was a table topics. Make sure the screen is good. All right. There was a table topics theme that was about talking about your local role model, right? So there was a gentleman by the name of Gerard who stood up. All right. So there was, they picked a certain amount of people, and then Gerard actually ended up being that last person that they picked. All right. This was powerful. It's powerful because you got to understand, when you're talking and you're kind of a polished speaker or an experienced speaker, it becomes something that's second nature to kind of get up there and talk about certain things as you develop your comfort with public speaking. Right. So Gerard was someone who, at this point, was very comfortable in public speaking, and he was doing a great job, right? So he wasn't flashy. Reading directly from the article now, guys. He wasn't flashy. He didn't prep anything, but when he started talking, everyone listened. All right, so hear me very closely now. Gerard pointed across the room to the club, to Maurice. So Gerard pointed across the room to a guy named Maurice, the club president. He talked about how hard life had been growing up without a father figure, and how Maurice, through mentoring, encouraging, and helping him become a better speaker, changed his life. Gerard ended his speech in tears. I'm not bullshitting you guys. I am dead ass serious, because I saw it. I had a front row seat and I saw it. And you never know when you're going to get called up. So I see Gerard up there. He goes, now that we're talking about local heroes, I think we got to look at, this is how he said, this was him there. He goes, I think we got to look at our guy Maurice. And everybody in the club just said, yes, of course, Maurice, because Maurice mentored me. Me and him would have conversations. No matter what, Maurice was about it, man. It was all about it. Jamaican guy, he was all about it, right? So as he was talking, he said it very calmly, because it was starting to hit him right there on stage. He goes, it was difficult, growing up without that father figure in my life. And when I met Maurice, who took an interest in me, and he kept it together, but then he really started losing it. And again, the majority of people in this club, they were ladies. So it was like, it got really emotional in there. Of course, I was like, dang. And that's the power of public speaking. So when you're talking about local, like, role models aside from fame, it's really, really important that the people like Maurice, the folks that are helping you out do certain things, these are the folks that need to be emphasized, because you can touch them, you can feel them. And then they ended the speech with a huge hug, all that stuff. So role models don't need a following. All right. So I'm going directly to the article going directly from the article now, podcast listeners. Real role models don't need a following. The moment changed something in me. Real role models don't have to be famous. They don't need millions of followers. They just need to show up. And if you're serious about your personal and professional development, here's my plea to you. Start looking within. Start creating role models that match the life you want to live. That's the key. Role models should match your vision. They should represent the life, energy, integrity that you're striving for, not just a lifestyle you scroll on Instagram. So here is the matter of fact. I'm gonna finish read through the article, and then I'll adjust, because I see I'm running low on time here. So, and again, one of the things we do here is we make sure we stay true to our time. So, all right. Don't ask yourself ask yourself this. The key, let me go back here. That's the key. Role models should match your vision. They should represent the life, energy, and integrity that you're striving for, not just the lifestyle you scroll past on Instagram. Ask yourself, how do I want to live? Here's the question. All right. So here's the question. If you want to create role models, now we're getting into really what I want to emphasize and get into as I close you guys out now. If you want to create role models aside from fame, here is the biggest question that you got to ask yourself every single day. Every single day, you must ask yourself this question and ask yourself, am I taking the actions towards this? All right. How do I want to live? How do I want to live? When you ask this question seriously, how do I want to live? You'll start noticing role models everywhere. Let me give you an example. I've run several half marathons. And a few years back, I set a goal. I want to run multiple full marathons. That goal led me to another. What would it take to get sponsored by a running company? If you're reading this, Brooks Running Company, what would it take? Right. Then that curiously led me to join this organization called the Palm Beach Roadrunners. So I'm giving you an example from my own life. My goal was to run multiple marathons, and it gave me, just like I joined Toastmasters, I decided I was going to join the Palm Beach Roadrunners. In fact, let me give them a little plug here. I'll be back at the we do track workouts, but been hectic as I started the show. But I trust and believe I'm going to be back very, very soon, running with them and all that kind of stuff. But I still, obviously pay the membership and everything. So there was a time we had a casual meetup at at Duffy's, the same one I'll be hosting the live college football show this fall. So that same Duffy's, the Palm Beach Roadrunners, we had a casual meetup at that Duffy's, and like a social and stuff like that. And I saw an opportunity. I walked over to the president of the group and I asked him, I said, hey man, how do I go about getting sponsored as a runner? What does the process look like? He looked at me same way. Again, these are local heroes. These are local role models I'm telling you about. He looked at me in the eye and said something I'll never forget. Just run. Don't worry about the other stuff. Enjoy your mornings. Keep showing up. And that hit me harder than I expected. Remove the pressure and show up fully. That moment freed me from a pressure I didn't realize I was carrying. Instead of obsessing over sponsorships and algorithms or press, I doubled down on showing up every day and building this platform. And guess what? That consistency is why the doors are opening now. So whether you're on the mic, on the field, in the classroom, or leading a team, remember, you can become someone's role model even if nobody's watching. Fame doesn't validate you. Alignment does. Final word. The world doesn't just need more role models. It needs more intentional ones. All right. Create them. Seek them out. Don't ever underestimate the value of that person who simply showed up for you. Because when you stop chasing fame and start following authentic alignment, you'll find role models in the most unexpected places and maybe even become one yourself. All right. That last line obviously is kind of tongue-in-cheek. Everyone is going to be a role model. This will be discussed on Monday. Everyone is actually a role model. It's just your option to choose to be a positive or a negative one. All right. And as I close you guys out, it's so important that well, as a matter of fact, let me not even say it's important. I will challenge you. I'll close you guys out with a challenge. Today, right now, write down something in which you want to be doing in the future, where you are right now. Just write it down and say, hey, I want to be doing this. I could see my days going like this in the next 10, 15 years. And when you just put it in place, this is what I see. It's what I see myself doing. It's what I would hope I can be doing. When you put that down on paper, which is like the good book says, Habakkuk 2.22, where the good book says, write the vision and make it plain. All right. When you decide to write that vision, a very simple thing of writing it down, eventually certain role models start coming into place. The same way with me. Again, as a runner, someone who's developing as a runner that wants to run full marathons, the person that I was referring to when it comes to the Palm Beach Roadrunners, just simply asking him that question, it led to in better conversation. It led to a level of confidence to where now at that same bar, I'm going to be hosting my own college football show at that same bar that we had that conversation. And it allowed me to be able to learn, hey, there's local people right there that can that you can create in your own mind, that you can work with. Take the energy, take the lesson, take the advice, apply it, and simply go with it. That's the essence of entrepreneurship, right? Simply taking the advice that somebody gave you and going with it. I've heard that said on Shark Tank on multiple occasions. All right. So all that being said, again, tomorrow we are going to do a full recap episode of everything we discussed from Monday to Tuesday to Wednesday. The next day we have Faith-Based Friday. Following that, we start in these film sessions Saturday with Texas, Ohio State from the Cotton Bowl last year. And then Stay Hired Sunday may or may not be happening this week, may or may not be happening next week because I'll be traveling. But trust and believe as we get going, Stay Hired Sunday will be back on the consistent basis as it normally is. All right. So all that being said, again, main website to check out to dive deeper into all the work I'm doing is makeyourmove.com. That's MakeYamove.com. One-stop shop for your teamwork and your self-development needs. As one, Crookshank, your one and only Move Swiftly speaker checking out. You guys continue to move swiftly. We will talk more soon.